How you doing, everyone? We're back for our weekly 3-game impact video. We've got rid of all our first 17 rounds there. We're up to 18 and beyond, and very clearly we can see how many buys everyone has. It looks a little bit different to last week. Don't have the Excel set up on the computer yet, so we're in the numbers tab, which is a little bit different. Doesn't look as pretty, but it's gonna have to do, isn't it? So we're out here with the Dragons. One buy there. We've got Eagles, Panthers, Roosters, all having one buy left at the top. And Eagles, Panthers, Roosters all have theirs in 19. And then really any non-origin guys from there, you want to be grabbing them in your side. So there's a few keepers from all of them. Obviously, Cleary's going to be one of them for the Panthers, Isaiah Yeo as the origin guys. So they're definitely someone to look at. They have a 4-day turnaround, so a Sunday game after that third origin. So guys like Isaiah Yeo, I'd imagine given they had their rest in that one just played, I'd imagine they do play this one against the Dolphins, but it also will depend on how the Dolphins are set up, because there's every chance that they could rest them if they want. Given that Dolphins are struggling a little bit at the moment, so something to look at with the Panthers. The Eagles, they have, as I said, their bye in round 19. Cowboys is a 3-day turnaround for them. So really, DCE and those types of players there. Really, it's only DCE now, isn't it? Very, very likely to back up, considering they need him to really make that 8 as well. So other than that, Ruben Garrick, I think, is going to be a really terrific purchase in round 20 in the wing fullback position. So have a look at your wing fullbacks. Check out, all of them at the moment. How many of them are keepers in your side? Maybe we have a look at guys like Dream Buller. I have Teddy, Ponga, these kind of guys that can be very up and down as well. But obviously, you see someone like Reece Walsh, he's definitely a keeper, and he can still score a 7 out there as well. So no one in the wing fullback position is safe, except for Dream Buller. Has his lowest score of like 34 or something. He's got a couple of them this year so far. So that's those two teams and a couple of players that we want to look at. I personally wouldn't be looking at bringing in anyone that has a bye in round 19 unless you were completely full and you had 12 to 13 players already for round 19 in 2 rounds there. There's a few guys that you might want to look at. Obviously, we just got some news around Jordan Ricky being out for sort of a couple of months there, and someone like Brendan Piakura could be a guy to look at. People have asked me about Sandon Smith as well, given they have their bye in round 19 as well. And look, if we don't get much further news on Sam Walker at the moment, then I think Sandon Smith really deserves his spot. I think he'd be able to score pretty well. Somewhere around that 40 to 45 average is where we'd think he would sit. But we also saw what Jack Hogg was able to do. But he does not have someone like Luke Keary next to him who's going to take some of those kick meters, some of the touches like that as well. But Sandon really came into his own the other day, and he's definitely someone, if you don't need someone in a player in round 19, you could grab him now, but just remember that is another couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks rest that Sammy Walker's going to, and rehab that Sammy Walker's going to get before he could potentially return. So yeah, it really depends how Sandon goes this week. If he does great, then there's a good chance he keeps his spot as well. The Roosters are missing a lot of forwards this week, and that would be really nice if Nat Butcher was back. So for those guys that own him or that held on to him, fingers crossed that he does return for you. But really, the Roosters side, you're going to wait this week against the Eagles. You imagine a pretty close game there. Guys like Manu, guys like Tedesco. If you are holding them, I think it's worth sticking strong. We're also waiting on Jake Turpin for his TLT naming as well. It sounds like he's cleared of any really bad rib issues. It's likely that he, if he does play this week, he will be getting a needle to get through that. So, does he miss a couple more tackles? Does he get into the defensive line as much? I still think he's going to be really important to play this week, so he may not be the sell that we're all looking at. But yeah, we'll work it out as we go along. You then move on to the Raiders have that one more bye as well, which is cool. So they're around 20 as well. So it's Dragons, Raiders, and Rabbitohs. So that's within that 3 week of games in pack now, guys. So every team here has, apart from the Titans, and the ones that just finished theirs in the Sharkies and the Tigers there, they have no more buys remaining, which is really, really cool. So looking at those 3 teams is going to be pretty important, but how many of those guys are really relevant? You're looking at the Sharks, and it might be guys like Britton Nakora. You'd imagine against the Dragons this week, and potentially Tigers in round 19, that the Sharkies can do really well, especially if Nico is still playing in round 19, that they can have a pretty good couple of weeks run there. And you could look at Ramian, you could look at Talakai in the centres, obviously Mulatalo, these types of players there, as potentially getting a bit of a run. But how much of a long-term play is that going to be, or are they just going to be pretty short-term on that front there? Titans, Phil Sami, someone like, especially because we're going to be waiting on Lem. Is he going to be on the bench again? Is he going to be named to start? A few question marks there. Do you look at guys like Phil Sami? I've had a little look at the centre position, especially. It's mixture between Brian Kelly and Sami from his team. You got Talakai as a potential option, and then you're going up towards Jack Bird as a round 19 player if you are having to trade out Lem, for example. But that just some of the things we're looking at before we do get team lists this afternoon. All stuff, it's all you should be doing, guys, before team lists is just kind of mapping out your team. It's a good time to kind of work out what type of players you need in round 19, what type of players you need for round 20 to make sure you field a full 17 in round 20 as well. Because obviously if you're having Jack DeBellin, if you have Jack Bird, if you have a Corey Horsburgh, these types of players there, they will miss in round 20. And that's going to be a tough week to kind of fill for sure with three teams on the bye. Just like round 17, and then also players trying to back up from Origin there. Another interesting news is that Tom Flegler sounds like he's in a moon boot. He could be out for a few weeks, which would mean that he would be out for Origin. And I suppose with the Queensland boys already winning Origin so far, whitewashed 2-0, that Corey Horsburgh is just playing so well, and he was 19th man. There's every chance he is the forward that comes into that side. So just have that little in the back of your head as well, that if Flegler is no good, he won't make Origin. Well, he won't be able to, and Horsburgh will be the like-for-like replacement there. So do have a little bit of contingency in place if that is the case. Titans, really, AJ Brimson you could look at, but he's up and down scoring just isn't for me, but he's still there obviously. Dave Fafita is one we want to look at for round 20 or round 21 for sure. Just remember, guys, if you are picking up these guns in round 20, the earlier you get them in, the more value you get out of them. So if you grab them in round 20, you've got 8 rounds remaining for them to score really well. If you do happen to wait an extra week or extra 2 weeks or something like that in round 22, round 23, that's less weeks of getting that really, really good score. So we will get, as we get closer to sort of round 22, 23, we will talk about the value of a trade in terms of the points that you're going to net out of that. So if you are waiting for, let's talk about the Cowboys, when they have a bye in round 24, and you're like, I'll wait until round 24, and you say Drinky struggles a little bit at some point, and then you're looking to trade him out in that round, then whoever you trade in at that point, you're only going to get 4 weeks out of them. And is it worth making that trade then, or is it worth making that big move in around 21 and using that early trade? And that's what I'm trying to get at here really is that a lot of us will run out of trades probably around that round 24 to round 26, I'd say, depending on how many you've saved. And in that last 2 weeks, for example, the way that the scoring obviously works is that you won't be able to really net as many extra points there as what you would be able to get in round 22. If you made that extra trade, you're like, well, I will leave myself a little bit short. But if that player that you trade in happens to get 6 rounds there at that 55 points there, compared to if you did hold the 45 or 50 guy, it adds up a little bit more over the extra weeks rather than waiting. I'll save it, and then I'll make that trade there at the end, and with 3 rounds to go and net that extra points there where you could have done that a little bit earlier. It's obviously it's a risk reward type of thing, but if you've got a high scoring guy for sure, that's the other one there. If you lose a guy in round 23 who's a really high scorer, he misses 2 weeks, and your replacement player is like a 30-point guy, 35-point guy, and you could straight swap that guy that's out for 2 weeks with that trade, even if you are limited on your trades there, and he can come in and score 60, then that's a massive increase in points over that. So that's something we'll go into further detail in those later rounds. It just popped into my head there, and hence why I wasn't able to explain it perfectly for you. But if you have any questions on that, do hit me with a DM or jump in the comments there for sure. But those are the first bunch of teams, and obviously Rabbitohs do have their bye in round 20, but there's someone you have to look at in round 26 given they have their second one as well. So their third one and final one in round 26 there for the Bunnies. So be aware of that if you are looking to bring in these types of players, that a few of them still have 2 byes remaining. Eels in round 18 and round 27, Cowboys in round 19 and round 24. You've got Broncos with 2 left, obviously round 25 and 19 there as well. All the others here, Storm and Knights are the other guys that have their bye in round 19, and that is it for them. Everyone following that, Dolphins, Warriors, Dogs, have a bye later in the season. So Dolphins in 21, Warriors in 22, Bulldogs in 23. So just keeping an eye on that and making sure that you are preparing for that. And obviously with the extra 8 trades that we're going to get out after round 19 coming into round 20, just being aware of, and having a bit of a plan on, what your team setup is going to be like. Obviously now the focus is going to be coming into round 19, just making sure you have close to that 13 on the park, 12 or 13 if you're playing overall. If you're playing head-to-head and you still have a head-to-head matchup in round 19, somewhere around that 10 or 11 would be cool. You want to be able to still score pretty well in that week, but you don't want to pull your team apart, because we know obviously your finals are likely going to be between round 23 and round 26. Some other finals have theirs between round 21 to round 25. So yeah, depending, it's the standard league is 23 to 26 with the 4-round final series, but some leagues will have changed that. Just like the default is not to play in the major bye rounds, but some leagues will change that to suit their preferences for sure. So just make sure you check the settings of your league for a head-to-head squad, and just make sure that you aren't trading out clear-cut keepers, even though they do have a bye here in round 19 or a bye in round 20. You do need to look further than that, because these teams up the top here, they don't have a bye for the rest of the season. Once you get past 19 or 20, all of these teams, all the way down to the Knights there, they are done by round 19 or round 20 with their buys and have a clean sheet there, and you're not going to have to worry about trading any of them out unless they get injured or suspended. Whereas a bunch of these other teams, like obviously the Broncos in round 25 in a semi-final for you, Cowboys in round 24, you have the Dogs in round 23, you might have to think about having enough players to cover them, or having enough trades to be able to trade those guys out. So that's the big talking point and the big thought there around the general buy planner, and we'll just jump into my team and have a quick geeze there as well. And just need to look at your squad, guys, and have a bit of a clearer idea of where you're at for trades and guys you're looking at. So some of the squads that I was just talking about with the Bunnies there have two buys remaining, and I've got Taff and Cook now on the squad, and likely I'm going to be removing at least one of them from the team from there. So that's not something I'm going to have to worry about them having a later buy. We obviously have the Dogs, and I have no Dogs players at the moment now that I've traded Oluwapu out. Cowboys, guys, something to look at. I have Drinkwater and Robson, but is Robson going to make it all the way, or is he going to be traded in round 19? That's all the things you need to look at. Is those teams have buys throughout that later period as well, that 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, when as an overall player, you're still wanting to be able to score really well. And if you've loaded up on players that no longer have a buy until later in the year, then that's something you need to think about. It's also going to be really cool if there are keepers in the Tigers and stuff like that, like IPAP, like Bateman, to be able to get them in your side if it suits you around 19, around 20 plans to be able to dominate for the rest of the year, because they know you no longer have to worry about them other than, again, injury or suspension. I hope that one really helped you guys. Hopefully Team List Tuesday is going to look after you. I hope it looks after my squad. I will be getting rid of Trent Liero at a minimum. And then depending how Jake Turpin comes out of it, how Lemuelu comes out of it, what we do with someone like Robson, maybe we go on him early just to facilitate the trades I need. We'll work that out as we come. But yeah, that's where we're at, guys, and hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.